Continuing coverage tonight of a story we first brought you at 5. A South Whitley police officer no longer on the department. And charges against an 18-year-old girl are now dropped in connection to the case that started as a traffic stop.
Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. Well, for the second time in a week, there has been a reckoning of epic proportions among the ranks of police departments. Between the nearly 1 million views the civil rights lawyer John Bryan has gotten on this story in the last couple of days and the public outcry that followed after the Augustus family posted their video to social media and involved the local media, the great minds at work in the town of South Whitley, Indiana, have decided to sever their relationship with Officer Brian Schimmel. Let's watch the rest of this story, brought to us courtesy of the WANE news crew.
WANE 15's Mia Pettigrew is in South Whitley and has reaction from the family. Mia.
Dirk and Alyssa, after sitting down with Vivian's parents, Brent and Macy Augustus, they've described this whole experience as extremely traumatic and eye-opening. Back in January, 18-year-old Vivian Augustus was pulled over for speeding at the Marathon gas station in South Whitley. This edited video footage from Brent Augustus's YouTube channel was acquired by him via subpoena and shows an officer later identified as Brian Schimmel pulling her from the car and onto the ground.
Now, I'm not sure how close of attention you guys were paying, but did you catch what she just said in that report? This happened in January. Brent Augustus had to acquire the video via subpoena through the court system. That means that the leaders of the South Whitley government knew exactly what happened, fought to keep from giving him the video, and had no intentions of doing anything about it.
Vivian, who is a senior at Columbia City High School, was suddenly thrust into what she describes as a nightmare.
It was terrifying. As soon as I hit the ground, I just remember looking across the pavement and just thinking to myself, there's no way this is happening. And like when he was taking me to the car, I was like, this just feels like a really bad dream. It didn't even feel like it was happening. It was out of body for me.
Today, the town of South Whitley sent an email stating, quote, due to public safety, Officer Brian Schimmel is no longer with the South Whitley Police Department. Now, we've been here outside the police department for a while now, and I spoke to an officer who was leaving out. He says they've been receiving phone calls and threats all day. We also requested that video footage from the prosecutor's office and is still waiting to hear back. Live from the South Whitley Police Department, Mia Pettigrew, WANE 15 News.
After Brent Augustus posted the video and the department started to receive backlash, they had the nerve to suggest that he was the one not being transparent because he edited the video to highlight relevant portions. The only editing he did was to add a timer and put text indications as to what he thought was relevant about the encounter. They made this post on Facebook in response to the backlash.
In response to a social media post of an edited video of a local law enforcement encounter, the South Whitley Police Department notes that it is limited in its ability to offer additional information. The social media post and comments suggested a uniformed local officer acted unreasonably in his interaction with a driver pulled over for speeding on January 24th, 2024. The incident resulted in a criminal charge and judicial finding of probable cause that the driver committed a crime. Persons charged with crimes are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. It is a crime to refuse to identify yourself if stopped for a traffic infraction. Further, a law enforcement officer is authorized to arrest an individual who commits a crime in the officer's presence. The reasonableness of this officer's conduct during the arrest is being reviewed. To ensure the fairness of the process to all parties, the town's attorney has advised it is inappropriate to comment on the underlying facts of this incident while they are being reviewed.
Now, I'm not sure what kind of response that was supposed to be, but it looked to me like the focus was entirely upon the crimes that had been perpetrated on the community by this heinous child. So, in case this is the first time you've heard of it, let me bring you up to speed. Here is the edited video the Augustus family posted on YouTube with text and a counter.
All right, Vivian, are you injured in any way? Would you like the medics to check you out? Okay. I'm going to read you your Miranda rights, okay? I have to read these to you since you're in custody, all right? This is your Miranda warning. Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions and have them with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed to you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you will still have the right to stop answering at any time. You also have the right to stop answering at any time until you talk to a lawyer. Do you understand your rights? Okay, I'm not going to ask you any questions right now. What I am going to tell you is you were pulled over for your speed and your headlight, okay? Your speed was 37 and 30, not that big of a deal, and your headlight was out on your driver's side. Just pulling you over to let you know. If you would have just given me your license and your registration like I asked you to do, you would have gone away with a warning tonight, okay? But however, since you decided to pull this right here, where you don't want to comply, you don't want to give me your ID, and you think you're going to run the scene, you're now going to jail. Do you understand? You were not. How many times did I ask you? You were not. I've got a body cam on. It'll show you not pulling your ID out. When I ask you to step out of the vehicle, you step out of the vehicle. You don't get to sit there and tell me how I'm going to do my job. Do you understand?
Thank God that Officer Schimmel took this hardened criminal off the street. I mean, have you ever even seen a person that you were more convinced were out there spending their spare time drowning kittens, kicking puppies, and dealing fentanyl than this girl? No, she's trouble. Can you even believe her? She was driving 7 miles over the speed limit. 37 and a 30, guys. The nerve. I'll tell you something else. I did a little digging into her background. You will not believe the incriminating video I found. This will tell you everything you need to know about this little 100-pound menace to society. Watch. Now, don't y'all feel safer knowing she's off the streets? Anyway, because we all have eyes and video and Zoom, let's take a look at what this local hero says when he describes his near-death encounter with this teenage demon, and then we'll check it for accuracy.
What you got? Pull over for headlight and speed.
Okay.
Cracks her window. Ask her to roll it down the rest of the way. Cracks it another half inch.
We know from the Augustus family's video that Schimmel approached the vehicle at 4 seconds in to the encounter, and the window was all the way rolled down at 7 seconds.
Ask her to exit. She refuses to exit until I tell her why. Tell her about 4 or 5 times to exit the vehicle. You don't want to go down this route. Refuse to exit. So, pulled her ass out, put her in arm bars, slammed her to the ground, got her in custody.
How old is she?
She said she's 18.
Okay.
So she's going to go to jail.
So Schimmel had to act fast. This girl was driving 37 miles per hour. What else was she capable of if not for his heroic willingness to stand between her and the rest of the community on that fateful January day? What was next for her? Late for choir practice? Probably. Or worse yet, what if she failed to signal her next turn? I swear, you just don't know all the crime stopping Schimmel does in a day in service to his community. 7 seconds, when you zoom in, there's no reflection at all, meaning the window is all the way down. So 3 seconds later. 10 seconds after that, he opened the car door and demanded that she get out, probably, for officer safety, because Mims, never mind the fact that 30 seconds after he opened the door and told her to get out, he bent forward, violated every tenet of good officer safety known to man, and stuffed his entire face and body into the death funnel that is the open car door before unbuckling her and dragging her ass out, armbarring her, and slamming her to the ground. His words, about a minute later. And man, the ass chewing that followed. He must have felt so proud to intimidate this little criminal by lecturing her after she was finally secured in handcuffs and everyone around was safe. Also, her dad showed up to get his car. If you go watch the full body cam footage on the Augustus family YouTube, which I do suggest you do to give them credit for both fighting this fight and sharing it, you'll notice that he has a much calmer encounter with Dad. Very likely because the school resource officer that showed up to assist warned him that these weren't the type of people who were going to go away. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have taken a tyrant's approach to dealing with Dad too, no doubt fueled by the 6 monster Monster energy drinks he likely had in order to get through the day. As we review the video, notice the difference between the tough guy officer talking to the backup officer and the reasonable officer talking to the girl's parent. This just highlights his ability to manipulate and lie about the circumstances.
So, pulled her ass out, put her in arm bars, slammed her to the ground, got her in custody. So she was assisted out of the vehicle, placed into custody, resisting arrest and failure to identify. Of course, my body cam just didn't turn on when I told it to. You're gonna have to back out there.
Not plug up the whole damn parking lot.
Okay, well, the problem here, sir, is that she pulled in here. I didn't pull her in here, so get off my scene. Get off my scene.
And as you notice, as he deals with the driver who feels like he's blocked into the gas station, apparently Officer Schimmel is not only willing to fight teenage girls who weigh 100 pounds, he'll also throw hands with any old man that thinks he's going to criticize him as well. And I actually think I know why that is. See, last time Schimmel tried to fight a full-grown man, this is how it went. Well, I'd like to tell you that I was able to find the South Whitley Police Department policy manual online and detail the policy violations that likely led to Schimmel being dismissed, but apparently they've removed both their Facebook page as well as their website. In closing, first and foremost, y'all ought to go show some love to the civil rights lawyer John Bryant if you haven't already. I'm firmly convinced that him covering this story first and it getting nearly 1 million views has a lot to do with the pressure brought to bear on the South Whitley government and forcing their hand here. More importantly though, the pressure needs to continue. And I don't say that because I like this kind of pressure. I really don't. I do not like it when we have to do this. But they had no intentions of getting rid of this guy. They have known about this situation since January 24th, and they were actively trying to suppress it from public view and even went so far as to document their defense of it. It's obvious that he lied about the story to his assisting officer. He lied about the story to her father. I'm certain that his falsified police report mimicked his BS rendition of the encounter, which was another policy violation and probable crime. He further escalated and was extremely rude to another member of the public who wasn't even involved. He ran Mr. Augustus for warrants after he was nice enough to cooperate and give him his ID. He searched the vehicle in violation of the Supreme Court ruling in Gantt, and he didn't do it pursuant to an inventory search because he wasn't towing it at that point. And the town of South Whitley knew every single fact that I just mentioned for 3 months before this video was released. So they had 3 months to come up with a plausible explanation or to do something with him or do something, but they didn't. All they did was wait to see what the public backlash was going to be. Then they made excuses and they finally relented. But it wasn't until the public responded that they did something. And what they did was too little, too late, in my opinion. I believe at this point they need a new police chief as well as whoever they're going to get to cover Schimmel's crime-stopping efforts. Now, because this little girl didn't have any bodily injury, even if the DOJ moves in and charges Schimmel with the federal crime of deprivation of rights under the color of law, which I do hope happens, it will likely only be a misdemeanor and he won't go to prison. I would suggest that he try and jump into a catchweight women's division fight in the UFC, but there are a couple of reasons that probably won't work out. One, Dana White likes freedom and probably won't sign him. And two, his clinch game and jiu-jitsu are so weak that Kayla Harrison would ragdoll his ass and submit him in the first round. I'd actually like to take this opportunity to ask Dana to reconsider his likely position and offer Brian Schimmel a one-fight contract just so we can see him get beat down by a girl. That's it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment about what you think about this. Check out the other videos on the channel. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.